Your perfectionism isn't a high standard, it's a survival strategy. And once you see it that way, once you really understand what that means, a lot of things about your playing that have felt like character flaws start to look completely different. So most musicians who struggle with perfectionism, tension, performance anxiety have been told some version of the same thing. Relax more, practice more, try harder, stop being so hard on yourself. As if perfectionism was a choice you're making and you haven't made it correctly yet. But perfectionism isn't really a choice, not a conscious one at least. It's a strategy your nervous system built probably long before you were old enough to question it. And until you understand that, no amount of relaxation techniques or trying harder will really reach the root of it. So my name is Joseph Arnold, and today I'm going to share with you the root cause of perfectionism and how to prevent it from sabotaging your musical life through tension and performance anxiety. All right, so here's a distinction about perfectionism that changed how I think about almost everything related to tension and performance anxiety in musicians. So some researchers who studied performance anxiety have begun separating what they call perfectionism from excellencism. So both involve high standards, both involve caring deeply about what you play. And if you looked from the outside at these two, you might not be able to tell them apart necessarily. The standards are equally demanding in both cases. But underneath them is something completely different. Perfectionism is fear-based. The standard you hold yourself to exists primarily as a protection against judgment, against exposure, against the weight of falling short in front of others or in front of yourself. And when you approach your playing from perfectionism, some part of your nervous system has registered that there's something to defend against. And so your body starts defending. So excellencism is something different. You have the same high standards, but the orientation is toward something, not away. Toward the phrase, toward the sound you've been hearing in your heart, toward the genuine expression. When you're in that state, your body organizes around the task instead of bracing against the outcome. There was a study done in 2026 by Racine and her colleagues who found that perfectionism specifically it links to performance anxiety in most musicians. And the same technique, the same preparation, the same passage will all and feel sound different depending on which nervous system state you're in. So perfectionism carries a physical cost that excellencism doesn't, even when the standards are identical. So the real question isn't whether you have high standards, the question is what those standards are made of underneath, fear or aspiration. So here's the thing, perfectionism wasn't a mistake you made, it was installed. So at some point in your development, in a lesson, a recital, or very likely earlier than that, your nervous system learned that falling short had real consequences. Not just a missed note, but something about whether you were enough, whether approval was conditional on performance, whether love or positive regard came with strings attached. Your nervous system did exactly what it's designed to do. It built a strategy. If I hold myself to a high enough standard, if I try hard enough, I will stay safe. That strategy was effective. It protected you at a time when you needed protection. But here's what I want you to understand. This isn't just part of your personal story. It's a cultural story. We live in what I call the story of separation, a worldview that measures human worth by performance, achievement, and how we compare to others. In that story, your value as a musician is conditional. It depends on how well you play, whether you make mistakes, what your teacher thinks, what your audience thinks. Perfectionism is a completely rational response to that world. Your nervous system absorbed the rules of the culture it was raised in. The problem isn't you. The problem is more in our story, our society's story. So then it calcified. Long before you were old enough to examine it, your strategy became part of your operating system, and now it runs automatically. Every time you pick up your instrument, every time something important is at stake, every time your playing is evaluated. This is why you can't think your way out of it. You can know intellectually that the passage is fine, that you are fine, that you've practiced it 100 times, that there's nothing to worry about. And your body will still brace, because the bracing isn't coming from your thinking, it's coming from a pattern established long before thinking could even reach it. So this is also why trying harder doesn't work. The harder you try to relax, the more you confirm to your nervous system that there's something to defend against. Effort carries the energetic signature of protection. The nervous system doesn't distinguish between trying to play well and trying to avoid failing. It reads the trying. I call this the try harder trap. And the more effort you bring to playing without tension, the more you reinforce the very state you're trying to leave. Your ends and means don't match. You can't try hard to relax. So here's the most telling place to watch for this. The moment before a difficult passage. Not during it necessarily, before it. Most musicians assume the passage causes the tension. The fast run or the high note makes a demand and your body braces in response. But what actually happens is earlier. The tension loads in the anticipation, a beat or two before the passage begins. So the shoulder creeps up before the bow reaches that string crossing. The grip tightens before the fingers land on the keys. Your breath catches before the music has asked anything of you. That preloading is perfectionism in the body, the old strategy arriving right on schedule. Your nervous system sensed that something important was coming, something where falling short would have had weight, and it started doing what it always does. In my book, Soul Force, I describe this as a form of insanity. And I mean that in a clinical, non-judgmental sense. Insanity, as I use the term, means ignoring anything that's true. When perfectionism runs, you try hard while ignoring the body. You impose your will while overriding what your nervous system is already telling you. The tension is your body's message. It's trying to communicate something real. And perfectionism teaches you to push past it. Trying hard ignores the body. That's the core of why it deepens into tension rather than releasing it. So once you start noticing when the tension arrives, not just where it lives, but you'll find that the passage isn't the source of the problem. It's your relationship with the passage that's the source of the problem. And relationships can change in ways that passages can't. Okay, so the shift I want to offer you is simple, but it cuts right at the root. It's what I call the magic pause. You've probably, if you see my videos, you've heard me talk about this before. It's the space you create when you interrupt the automatic pattern and bring something different to the moment before you play. You create space for something different. This is very important. So before a passage where tension tends to arrive, right there in that anticipatory moment, ask a real question. Not, I hope this goes well, or gotta do it fast, gotta get it right, or I hope I don't mess up. These are still protection thoughts. Bring real curiosity. I wonder how this phrase will want to move today, or I wonder how my heart wants to play this, or what will I notice this time? This really matters because curiosity and protection are fundamentally different nervous system orientations. Curiosity says, this is something to explore. The body organizes for exploration. Protection says, this is something to defend against. The body braces. The passage is the same. Your hands are the same. But the state of your body, the state your body is in before you begin, is different. And everything you play happens inside that state. And so this can lead to what I call playing from the heart. Not as a technique, but as an orientation, a way of listening. When you play from the heart, you move towards the music, towards the phrase, towards the sound you've been hearing, towards what you want it to actually say. That's fundamentally different than moving away from the mistake, the judgment, the possibility of falling short. The magic pause can be the doorway. Playing from the heart is what happens when you step onto the other side of it. So try this now. Think of a passage where tension usually arrives. Don't play it yet, just bring it to mind. And now notice what your body does as you anticipate it. Where is the tension coming? Is there a gripping, bracing? So this is your habit. This is your pattern. That's the old strategy running. So now, can you get curious about the passage instead of being prepared against it? Not, I hope this goes well, but actual interest. How does my heart want to play this? And then notice if anything shifts. It might be subtle, half a degree of release in the shoulders or a breath that comes more naturally. This is not nothing. That's the beginning of a different relationship with your playing. So you can't outthink perfectionism. You can't outdiscipline it. You can't willpower your way out of something that isn't a conscious choice. But you can start to notice it in an unhurried, curious way, and that noticing is where it begins to loosen, especially if you bring in something like playing from the heart, which can guide your music from a deeper place within you. So if you want to work with this in real time, there are a couple ways you can do that. You can come to my Musician's Tension Reset Lab. It's a weekly class, a small group, live, where you can bring your instrument and we'll work on these kinds of things and give you real feedback for what to do when that old pattern arrives. You can also sign up for one-on-one lessons with me where you can you learn about 20 different mind-body effortlessness techniques so you can get back to playing without pain, playing freely, enjoying playing, being free of perfectionism and performance anxiety. And if you want to learn about that, you can go to soulforcearts.com. All right, so if you found this useful, if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe, share it with a musician you know, and I'll see you next time.